Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through how to kind of manage Terraform with Docker, right? What did I mean here? That means we'll kind of write a Docker file, and we'll build our Docker file to create an image. And within that image, we're going to install Terraform, Terraground, AWS CLI, so that if somebody wants to run Terraform, he can basically go ahead and pull that image down, make sure that he mounts the Terraform directory that he wants to run inside a container and kind of run Terraform from the container. Why is it useful? Let us take a real world scenario. Let's say you guys are kind of working within an organization, and at some point, folks are not using the same, and we really want the version of the Terraform to be really consistent, right? And we don't want somebody to ever migrate the state file by mistake, which means he can basically install another version of Terraform that is not the one that is currently used, and use that version to basically trigger Terraform. What will happen is that will go ahead and migrate the state file from one version to another version, and there is no way that we can revert that back, and the team will basically find themselves using two versions of Terraform, right? And let's say we don't really want that. The company wants to enforce a specific version. What can they do? They can basically write a Docker file to install that specific version, and they build that to create an image, store that image into any image repository, and ask everybody within the organization to use that image to run Terraform. And also they can use that image to basically they can even create an AMI, right? They can also take the script. We write the same script, right? And we create an EC2 instance. We write the same script. We basically create an image. We write the script, and we'll go ahead and run that script. That is going to install Terraform maybe in EC2 instance, and later on we take an image of that, right? We can basically use that now also as a Jenkins agent, which means if we want Jenkins to install Terraform, to run Terraform, Jenkins will always use the same version that we want. That means we can kind of use an image with Docker from local, and also we can even use the same image with Jenkins, because Jenkins can also, we use something called, we can also use containers, right? You can pull an image using Jenkins and logging into that and run that image to create a container and get in there and trigger Terraform with Jenkins. And if you don't want to do that, you can just basically launch a VM, you install Terraform the proper way, you configure everything, you take an image, and you basically use that image to create a Jenkins agent. And every single time that somebody wants to run Terraform, when he call that label, that specific label, it is always going to use the same version, right? That means if we want to eliminate all that, either we use containers to trigger Terraform, or we can go ahead and use a CI/CD tool where we install a specific version, and we basically create an image and use that image to basically fire up the Jenkins agent. And when we fire up the Jenkins agent, give him a label. Every time that we want to go ahead and trigger Terraform, we'll go ahead and kind of call that label, and it will always use that version. If you click here, as you guys can see here, I have a little Dockerfile here, right? And if you click on that Dockerfile, I don't really like to. I can go ahead here and click on this Dockerfile, but I will not open this here. I'll go ahead and open this one, just local. Let me close this first. I don't need this, and I'll go ahead and open my CLI. Make sure that I move to the root. I'll go ahead and cd into code here. I basically cloned the repository already, and I have it local. And what I'm going to do is that I will make sure that I'll add the link to that repository in the description below of this video, so that if you want to go ahead and follow the same step that I'm doing, you are more than welcome to do so. Now, this is the root of this repository, and I will cd where I have this Dockerfile and ls, and I will go ahead here and hit code here and open this. As you guys can see here, this is my Dockerfile, and this is just a little README file here. Now, this Dockerfile, what is it doing here? We're basically going to start from Alpine column letters. We all know that Alpine is the smallest image, right, that we can see out there. And a lot of time, a lot of companies are going to use Alpine because they don't want their image to be so heavy, right? Because this is really, really light. Now, with Alpine, we basically use the APA package manager here to install packages, and we are trying to kind of install to update the operating system. And here we are going to install the AWS CLI, install the UGET, and UGET here will be used to kind of download the Terraform binary here from releases, right? And here we'll also go ahead and install Vim in case we need Vim. Here we are just going to kind of download Terraform. Here we're going to download a specific version here, which is just like version 1, and that is coming from the release, from Terraform releases. And we'll just go ahead and kind of unzip that and move that to user local bin, and we'll go ahead and remove the zip file. Here, this is just a step also to install Terragram, which is the wrapper around Terraform. We use Terragram here when we kind of want to use multiple directory, right, in Terraform. As you don't want to put all your egg in one basket. Let's say you want to create one entire environment that will have like Kubernetes, control plane, and all kinds of stuff. We can have a folder for the VPC, another folder for EKS control plane, another folder for EKS node group, and so on. And if you want to separate and cut all your environment into chunks, at some point, it will be really, really difficult with Terraform to manage something called dependency, right? To manage dependency here will be really, really difficult because at some point you will need to use something called a remote state file. That means a remote data source to kind of grab something from another state file and use it into another resource, which is a little bit complicated. Or you can use the data source to grab something that was already created and you use it into another resource. Instead of that, you can kind of use Terragram, which is a very powerful tool, which can manage dependency efficiently, right? If you want Terraform to manage dependency efficiently, that means you want to put all your egg in one basket, which means all your configuration files should be in the same folder. And that will be that's going to create just a one giant state file, right? And if that state file is messed up, you mess up your entire environment. Be smart. Instead of that, you cut everything into chunk. And when you cut it into chunk now, that is where Terraform, it will be a little bit difficult now to manage with Terraform, and you need this tool now called Terragram. If you guys want me to go ahead and create some Terragram series, please let me know in the description below, and I'll go ahead and kind of create some videos and explain how to use Terragram properly to kind of resolve the dependency issue that Terraform basically have when we start splitting our environment into multiple folders, into multiple directory, into multiple resources. Now, here we just set up here a workd, and we are using here a cmd command to basically run this command bin.sh when the container start. B1 here. If you're using the Alpine, please do not use bin bash here because that one is not recognized. I wasn't also aware of that, and every time I was putting bin bash here, and when I want to run this thing, run this image to create a container, I was always having an issue, and that error message is here. I was always having this issue, fail to do this because of this bin bash stuff. B1 APK doesn't allow you to use the born again shell. It basically allows you just to use the born shell. Be very careful, which is the sh. And the born again shell, which is the bin bash, was just an enhance of what? Of the born shell. I mean, this was cloned. We take this code here, modify it, and go ahead and create a born again shell, which supports something called the command aliasing, like auto completion and so on, and which is also a default shell in Linux. Now, let me go ahead here and kind of create a VM with Docker install, and we'll go ahead, fire up that VM, and we will fire a VM up. We'll go ahead and install Docker, and we'll go ahead and build this Dockerfile here to create an image and kind of run that image, create a container, set up an AWS CLI very quick, and see if we can use that to kind of deploy something in AWS. In this case, I'm not going to fire up I can go out here and fire something up using Terraform. And what I can do here is just go to the root of this repository here. And I'm going to pick up to Terraform concept. And I'm going to use this one here called Terraform command line basics. And I will navigate to this location. I have a code here. Let me navigate to this location through my command line. ls here. And if you say vim code here, you guys will see that I just have a piece of code here, not vim code. I'll just type code here and open my VS Code at this particular location. Oh, oops, it looked like I have a mistake somewhere. Or what? Let me say pwd and see the path. Oops, pwd. And I am in Docker instead. Oh, okay. Let me move again to the root of the repository, and I will cd in code Terraform, and I will go ahead and cd into this specific path. And ls, go ahead here and open VS Code again, one more time here. And I'll have a code here, and this code here basically is just going to create an EC2 instance, right? We set up here the Terraform block, the provider block. Here I basically have a hard code and AMI, which is in where I pick this AMI in this region called the US East one. And here I have the T2 micro. The key is already created. The security group is there, and I have the subnet ID. Please go ahead and make all this modification according to your environment, according to the region where you are going to deploy this EC2 instance. And here I basically have the root device set to 10. I will go ahead and kind of fire this up, and I will log in Terraform init to create an instance. Oops, Terraform. And I will initialize this to download the provider. And I'll go ahead and say Terraform plan and see exactly what I'm going to create. Just one, that is fine, Terraform apply. And this will go ahead and kind of launch one EC2 instance in AWS, and I will say yes. And when this is done, I'll go ahead and install Docker in here. While this is going on, I will just open another terminal here and navigate where I have the key. Please do not worry about the command that I'm going to type here. It is just it's just specific to my environment, right? ls, if you see here, I have all my keys here. The key that I use to launch that EC2 instance is called Terraform_Terraform-AWS.perm. That means I am where the key is, and I basically give this proper permission. If you check here, as you guys can see here, that is completed. Let me go over to AWS, and we'll have one EC2 instance here running. I will go ahead and click on that instance, which is VM, and I will go ahead and connect. And I'm going to do that through SSH. I've done this one already, Chmod. I will just go ahead and copy this. And open my command line where I have that key. This is where the key is, and I'll hit enter, and I will accept. I am already logging. I will use the sudo-i command to be root, and I will use the app update to update my operating system. And I will install Docker the bad way. I'm not going to install Docker the right way. But if you want to know how to install Docker the right way, just go to the Docker documentation, right? Just follow the documentation on how to install Docker. Now, if you just tap Docker, you will see that it will say Docker is not installed. I'll go ahead here and install use. I'm not going to install the Docker Podman, but the docker.io. Like I said, this is not the right way to install Docker. Always follow the documentation. I don't just want to go through that. And the Docker installation is going through. When this is done, we'll go ahead and create a Dockerfile. I'm going to build that Dockerfile and create an image. that we will use. This looks good. And I'll go ahead here and say vim and create a Dockerfile. Hit enter here, and let me go and copy that Dockerfile here. And I'll paste it here. Just press I to move to insert, scroll up, make sure that everything looks good, and I'll go ahead and save. Now, if you go to our README file here, we can have some steps here. I will just say Docker build, and I'm going to call that Terraform. Let me go ahead and just run the command Docker build, and I'll call that Terraform and use dot to say the Dockerfile is here. As you guys can see, it will put the image down, and it will go ahead and install Terraform, update that, install all the packages that we basically put in here, that we put in Dockerfile. And when that is done, we'll go ahead now and kind of run Docker run. We say half and RM in Docker. If you know how Docker works, I'm just saying that, hey, when you create a container out of this image called Terraform, please, when I exit out of that container, go ahead and remove the container. Do not keep it up and running, so that I will go ahead and stop it later on myself and remove it, right? That's what the dash RM basically means here. And I want this guy to put me in bin bash. And the second one will be the one that we'll use to kind of run Terraform, because at this point, what will happen is that I am going to kind of mount my current working directory inside the container in the folder called /Terraform. And I'm going to use the image that I built earlier, and it's going to put me here in the bash terminal. As you guys can see, this was built successfully, which means if you kind of run this command, it will go ahead and lock me in. Yeah, right now it basically create a container out of this image. And if you check here, as you guys can see here, we can go ahead now and tap Terraform version. It basically put us here in something called a workd that we set in the Dockerfile, which means /Terraform. Can we go ahead now and kind of check the version to see if Terraform is installed? We can tap, first of all, Terraform. As you guys can see, Terraform is installed. Terraform -- version to see the version, and that is exactly the version that we install. If we tap TerraGround, let's see if TerraGround is also installed. TerraGround, I basically have a typo here. As you guys can see, indeed, TerraGround is installed. Do we have AWS CLI installed? Yes, AWS CLI, it is installed. Wow. Now, what can we do here? Now, let's say we want to use this. We want to trigger Terraform with this. If you just say exit, as you guys can see, I am here. Let's say I have a configuration file here. Let's say I have something here, a Terraform configuration file here, and I want to basically deploy that in AWS. What can I do? I can go ahead here and create, let me just say gig. As you guys can see here, gig, it is installed. If you hook over to this repository, this is a public repository, which means I can go ahead and clone this repository here using HTTPS. I can say clone and just type here git clone. It is a public repository. That means all of you guys can clone that. And I can paste it here. And it will clone everything and put it here. As you can see, this is on my VM. I can go ahead now and kind of launch this command here that we have. Let me open my VS Code here. We are following this README file. I can run this command now to kind of take everything that I have where I am right now. That means mount my current working directory inside the container. Let us do so. If you copy this command, open the command line and paste it here and type ls, As you guys can see here, I am in the container now, and this is that folder. We were here in the VM. Here we are in the container, and this is the VM. That means I can type AWS configure, and kind of configure my CLI here, where I'll put my access key and my secret access key. I have a user here in AWS, which is just an admin user, that I basically create a user here called a test user. If you go to called automation user, let me go to identity and access management. And here I will hook over to users. I have a user here called automation, and this user here have admin privilege, right? And I will go ahead and create some credential that I'm going to delete when I'm done with this video. Let me go ahead. I even have one access key here, but I'll create another one here. Let me go ahead and create access key through the command line, and I will confirm. Next, I don't want to set any description, and I'll copy the access key here, go to my terminal, create also the secret key, go to my terminal, just copy the secret key, and I want to deploy in US-is -1. And the output, I want it to be JSON. And that's it. Let me test if I can list all buckets in my account. AWS S3LS is just a simple AWS command line to list all the buckets. That is cool. This means at this point of time, we are able to kind of use the CLI to access AWS API and list all the buckets that we have in AWS. Now, we have a folder here. I can kind of cd now in this directory called Terraform. And in here, I would like to go to AWS. Let us just go to the console. That is simple. We are in here. Let me cd in this. I am at the root of this repository. And let us see one example that we might use here to test this. At the root of this repository, let me go to AWS Terraform, and I'm going to click on Terraform concept, which is this. And I'm going to pick just one exercise here, and we'll go ahead and deploy. I'm still going to deploy the same thing like Terraform basic command. This is the one that I'm going to deploy. Let me copy this, and I will just change the name so that you guys will see. I'll cd into this specific path, ls, and I'm going to open the main. Let's say main.tf, and I'm going to make just a simple change here on the tag I, and I'm going to put VM Docker, and I will go ahead and save to see if it's going to create a second VM. And I will type Terraform init to initialize this. And when this is done, it's just going to download the provider and store it local, and it will not do anything. I'll go ahead and type Terraform plan, and it will kind of generate, it will tell me exactly what it's going to do. It's going to create one EC2 instance, and I know that so far. And I'll go ahead here and type Terraform apply. And this will go ahead and create another EC2 instance. But what are we using here? We are running this Terraform in Docker container, where we basically set up our AWS CLI. We mount our current working directory that basically have all our Terraform configuration file, right? And here we can run Terraform without any issue. Now, let me hook over to AWS and see if we kind of have another resource coming up. If you go to EC2, and here we have another one. This is the first one that we launched with Terraform and install Docker in. And this one here, we kind of build an image and create a container out of that image, mount our working directory, configure our AWS CLI, and run Terraform to create this VM, and it is up and running. Let me go ahead and destroy that. Terraform destroy. And when this is done, I will go ahead and exit, just get out of this because we are done. When this is done, we'll exit, and we'll also go ahead and clean up the VM that we used to build the container. Always make sure that when you are doing something, you are testing something in AWS or even in Azure, in any cloud provider out there, when you are done, go ahead and do the cleanup so that those cloud provider will not charge you, right? So that you will not get charged. When this is done, we'll kind of exit and get out of the container, and we'll destroy another instance that we used to build the image using Terraform. This is done. I will just tab exit. As you guys can see, we are out. And here also I will exit. I am no more. I'll exit again one more time. I am back to my local machine. And I'll go ahead here and destroy the VM that we used earlier to build that. And it will go ahead here and shut down the second VM where we install Docker. As you guys can see, it is destroying the second VM now. And when that is done, that means we kind of clean up everything properly, right? To sum up, this video was a little bit long, but it is really, really interesting also in the real world, right? To sum up, what happened here is that we are basically trying to see how we can basically build an image. And when we build an image, we can install a specific version. That means we can write a Dockerfile. And within that Dockerfile, we want to install a specific version of Terraform. It can even be multiple versions that we want, right? And enforce those versions so that everybody within the organization will always use those versions to trigger Terraform. And what is the benefit? Nobody will ever migrate the state file by mistake in this case. Nobody will ever migrate the state file by mistake. If we also want to avoid this state file migration by mistake, instead of using this, we can also use an automation tool like Jenkins, where we launch maybe a VM, we install all the version of Terraform that we want, we go ahead and take an image of that VM, use that image to launch on the main Jenkins agent, and every time that we want to launch, every time that we basically want to trigger Terraform, we can go ahead and call the agent with that label, with that specific label, and it will always use a specific version to run Terraform. And nobody within the organization will ever go ahead and upgrade the state file by mistake. If you guys want to know how to do this with Jenkins, I show you guys already with Docker. If you guys want to know how to do this with Jenkins, how to basically create an instance, install some specific version of Terraform that we want, and go ahead, configure that to be a Jenkins on-demand agent and use that to trigger Terraform, please let me know in the description below, and I will go ahead and create another video just for that. And that one will be a very, very long video, right? Because we'll have a lot of stuff to configure. We'll first of all make sure that we have Jenkins. We'll make sure that we kind of launch an EC2 instance in AWS. And when we launch that, we'll go ahead and maybe run a script there to install specific version of Terraform that we want. We'll go ahead and kind of take the AMI. If we don't want to do all these things manually, we will go ahead and kind of use Packer to package that to create our own custom image. When we create that custom image, we'll kind of go ahead now and hook that up on Jenkins as on-demand agent and specify a label. And we'll write a Jenkins file now to kind of call Terraform with that specific label so that it will go ahead and deploy. That means this is like one entire CI/CD pipeline. If you guys want to know how to do that, please let me know in the comment below, and I will take some time and put some resources together that we can, and I will go ahead and kind of put something together and shoot a video for that. And I hope this video was really informative. If yes, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and also let us know in the comment below. Subscribe so that the next time that we publish another video, you guys will be aware of that. That means you'll be notified that, hey, another video was published. That's it. Thank you. Bye-bye.